LeBron James, more like LeGon James. Am I right? You're welcome, America. Yahoo Sports Daily. Caroline Fenton, Jason Fitz. LeBron James has told the Lakers he wants out. He's going to be joining a new team. He is officially a free agent. That's all we know. But now this is where all of the suspense and the drama starts, Caroline, because Shams reporting that happiness, not money, will decide where he's going to play. Where's that going to be?
Very convenient thing to say when you're worth about over $1 billion. But that's a great question. That's a sweet little soundbite there that is, I feel like, coming directly from the desk of Rich Paul and LeBron James. That's also incredibly subjective because we have to ask ourselves what brings happiness? What brings LeBron James happiness? If it's not going to be money, which I don't think I totally and completely buy into, but at least it sounds nice. What does LeBron want? What are LeBron's priorities? We do this a lot. We kind of act like we know athletes just because we've been around them and they've been in the spotlight for so long. We obviously don't know LeBron James, but let's go off of what we do know about LeBron James. At this point in his career, I do not think that winning a championship is his number one priority. Would he want to win a championship? Of course he would. He's still a competitor. He's still LeBron James at the end of the day. But last season, when LeBron had an opportunity to exercise his player option and go elsewhere, he decided to stay with the Lakers, a place where it didn't seem like it was realistic that he could win a championship, a place where he was going to make $50 million, a place that was comfortable, a place that did feel like home, a place where his family was. So that told me a lot about where LeBron James's priorities are right now. So I think right now what brings LeBron happiness, it's being in the spotlight and it's getting attention. And I don't say that in a negative way. That's not a bad thing. It just is what it is. LeBron enjoys being a celebrity. LeBron enjoys, all of the fruits that come when you're a celebrity, the fruits that come when you are the focal point of an organization. I mean, we're not that far removed from LeBron James throwing a stink about not getting a game ball, okay? LeBron likes that. He likes to be loved. He wants to be the focal point of an organization. It's not a bad thing, but it is what it is. LeBron loves his family. He's talked so much about, how much his family loves Los Angeles, how much he wants to be with his family, how happy his family makes him. Obviously, he brought Bronny to the Lakers. He loves golf. He loves wine. He loves to be comfortable. All of those things I think are probably, ultimately some priorities far more than I'll go wherever it takes. If it's the icy Arctic tundra, if it's the middle of nowhere, as long as I can win a championship, I don't think that's his thought process at this point right now. I think that being comfortable and being competitive, of course, at the same time, are both priorities for LeBron.
Happiness, not money, is, I think they're we all remember English class as a kid where you'd see things in parentheses that weren't read out loud, like happiness, not money, within reason is probably a better solution to that actual answer. But you make a really important point here that happiness is different for everybody. Like, we have decided as a general NBA culture that he's going to end up in Golden State, or he's going to end up in Cleveland, or he's going to end up in Miami. And we've all put the blocks together on why. But what we don't know is what one of those places will actually make him happy. And we can't know that. Now, LeBron certainly knows how to use his microphone to speak to the world. But until he does that, do we really understand what's going to make him happy? Look, location. There are certainly plenty of LeBron fans out there that believe going home to Cleveland would be the absolute perfect story. There are also plenty of basketball fans out there that say, Cleveland? Why'd you want to go to Cleveland? We don't know. Here's what I know. I know that I've lived all over the country, and there are parts of the country I love, and there are parts of the country that I don't. Frankly, I don't really jive with LA. Like, LA is not my favorite city. So if somebody came to me and said, I have a dream job for you, but it's located in Los Angeles, I'd have to really think about it because I just don't love that city. But I love Vegas, and not everybody loves Vegas. All of these things, it's okay. What we don't know from LeBron is, does he want to go someplace quiet where he has maybe a better chance of not having paparazzi follow him absolutely everywhere? Some actors around the country have discovered that maybe it's better to live in Texas or Montana than LA because you have more peace. Does he want peace, or does he want a championship? Does he want peace or a championship, or does he want the comforts of home? Happiness is such a open book of, it could be any sort of choose your own adventure conversation, Caroline, that I think until we know what truly makes LeBron happy, it's super easy for the reports to say happiness matters more than money because we can quantify money. We can't quantify another man's happiness.
That's intentional phrasing, though. That's
Mm.
intentionally left very vague and open to interpretation. That is not a black and white thing. That is incredibly gray. If money was your number one priority, okay, well then you just go wherever you can make the most money. Easy, done, point blank, period. But happiness, it sounds really nice, and it really paints a lovely narrative, and I don't think it's a wrong thing at all. Whatever any player, LeBron James or anybody else, whatever their number one motivating factor is to go anywhere, making money, being close to home, chasing a ring, great. Do whatever you want to do. Whatever your priority is great. And I hope you pursue it. But I do think that phrasing was very intentional. I also do think that we have to remember, even though happiness, not money, quote unquote, is the driving factor, money does talk. I always go back to JJ Watt's free agency when he said, I want to go where I can win a ring. I want to go where I can win a championship. I want to go where I can, win the Super Bowl. And then where does he end up? Arizona. Because Arizona was willing to pay JJ Watt more money than any other team in the NFL. And that is just one of so many examples that we have seen across so many athletes, across so many different sports. So I'm also not counting out the fact that LeBron very much so could end up wherever he can make the most money. I know he's a cajillionaire, but cajillionaires can always get richer.
Yeah, well, and as you mentioned that, there were Patriots players that after leaving New England were very loud about the fact that they'd rather play anywhere else than have to go back to New England, even though they knew they had a better chance of winning because they didn't love the culture in New England. They didn't love what was asked of them every day with the Patriots. So it's a reminder that for some people, championships equal happiness. For some people, money equals happiness. For some people, who you're playing with equals happiness. So we just don't know that. But what we do know is that LeBron likely not going to be playing with Bronny, but Bronny's contract became fully guaranteed just before we find out that LeBron is leaving. So is this a galaxy brain move by LeBron, or did the Lakers see this one coming?
Okay, this is where I think that we can all put our tinfoil hats on and we can try and read between the lines a little bit. One important thing to remember about all sorts of contract negotiations, it's all about optics, it's all about power, it's all about flexing whatever muscle that you might have. So I see this playing out in two different ways, or, the behind the scenes could have been two potentially different things. On one side of things, this was the Lakers' plan all along. They knew that they weren't going to bring LeBron James back. They knew all along the plan was to bring Austin Reeves back and let LeBron go into free agency. And maybe they would have put an offer on the table in good faith. Hey, at least we tried. We tried to put, a contract out there, and we tried to bring him back, and it just didn't work out. And the Lakers kind of did LeBron a solid and said, we'll let you control the narrative here. We'll let you control the optics and make it seem like it was your decision. Why would the Lakers do that? Who represents LeBron James? Rich Paul. Rich Paul represents some of the biggest name players in the NBA. Maybe the Lakers said, hey, look, we'll throw LeBron a bone here if it means that we can maintain a really good negotiating relationship with Rich Paul, because we may want to sign one of his clients in the future and we want a good negotiating relationship with him. Or the other side of it could have been this was LeBron's plan all along. He never had intentions to go back to the Los Angeles Lakers, and he had to just keep his cards close to the vest long enough to let Bronny's contract get guaranteed. So he kind of played ball with them this long. They stretched it out, stretched it out, stretched it out. And LeBron James has known for a very long time that he wasn't coming back to the Lakers. And that's why that story about the game ball came out, because he was trying to lay the groundwork to show LeBron is disgruntled in Los Angeles, and it was his decision all along to leave.
So I'm torn on this because I feel like I love the conspiracy theories, but also I don't believe that the Lakers are incompetent. And that, like, for me, they had to see some of this was coming. Ramona Shelburne said on ESPN a couple of days ago, the Lakers understood that the silence from LeBron meant something. And even through that process, they still guaranteed Bronny's contract. Here's the one thing I think a lot of us are forgetting. Bronny James' guaranteed portion was $2.3 million. I had ChatGPT make it up, look it up. $2.3 million will rank somewhere, depending when it's all said and done this year, somewhere between the 400th and 430th highest paid player in the NBA this year. So there are about 400 guys in the league that are going to make more than Bronny this year. So when we hear the $2.3 million was guaranteed, that's a write-off for the Lakers. Like, that's not even an important number for the Lakers. They could raise the price of their hot dogs by $1 and be in profit from everything that means. Also, for what it's worth, Bronny's $2.3 million is less than Stephen A. Smith makes in a month at ESPN, right? So
Oh my
at some point,
gosh.
I was just speaking facts. Like, it's about 2 weeks' pay for Stephen A. Smith. So when we talk about $2.3 million being guaranteed by the Lakers, honestly think they looked around and said, well, he's probably not coming back, but screw it. We'll give Bronny $2.3 million just in case. I mean, sure, if LeBron wants to come back and we can work it out, then great, Bronny's here. And if not, great. $2.3 million does not matter to the Lakers. $2.3 million doesn't even matter in the NBA. That's why every time one of us sits on our couch and, eating our Lays, fat, watching TV, saying, this guy's a bum and he sucks, he should never be in the league. Just remember that the worst player in the NBA is making more than most of us are going to make in 10 years. So just at the end of the day, I think the Lakers probably saw this coming, but also, even if they didn't, it's just not that big of a deal. Now, speaking of Ramona Shelburne, she reported LeBron's going to take his time. Quote, no rush, according to Ramona. Do you believe that LeBron right now is on the golf course in Cleveland, open-minded about what is coming next?
No, I don't. I think LeBron knows exactly where he's going to go. But I'll go back to the LeBron's report that said he's choosing happiness over money. And I thought, okay, what makes LeBron happy? The first thing I thought of was attention, being courted, being at the center of the conversation. So I think LeBron knows exactly where he wants to go and is just enjoying the conversation being about him. And look, that's not a bad thing. But I do think LeBron enjoys that. He knows that his days are numbered in the NBA, and he's going to say, I'm going to squeeze every single drop of juice out of this lemon that I can possibly get. Now, I do think there is probably some truth to, hey, look, I know what I want to do. I know where I want to go. At this point, I think that's Golden State. But why not sit back and wait for a better offer to come my way? Although I feel like Golden State is the right landing place for me, that I want to, go play with Steph. I want to go play with Draymond. I want to go play for Steve Kerr. I want to go and do this last dance and have our whole old guy thing. But if Cleveland comes calling and says, hey, we're willing to pay you $55 million a year to come play here, which probably wouldn't work with the salary structure in Cleveland, but you know what I mean? If any team comes calling and is saying, we're willing to pay you $55 million to come play for us, well, then that might change things. So I do think that his mind is made up, but I do think he's going to stretch this out for a couple of reasons. One, because it's fun, and two, just to see what offer might come his way. Why not? Why close the door now?
You have opened my eyes. I've been trying to figure out since yesterday why Shams would say happiness matters more than money. And I think you just cracked the code. The reason happiness matters more than money is it gets ahead of whatever the narrative is for wherever he signs. If he signs in Golden State and people say, yeah, but you don't have the best chance of winning there, he says, hey, at this stage in my career, I've done all the winning I need to do. I just want to play with my friends. It makes me happy. If he goes back to Miami and people say, oh, you're ring chasing. Well, you know what? I wanted to go back to a city that I have so much love for, and I wanted to make sure that I could play with Giannis and play with Bam and write the relationship with Pat Riley. It makes me happy. I love and if he goes to Cleveland, it's like, oh, the chance to go home. Any organization he chooses, no matter where they are in the spectrum of championships, LeBron can simply answer, I wanted to go where it made me happy. And that can either be playing with stars, that can be playing with friends, that can be playing in a location he loves, or that can be going after another championship because nothing matters more to me at this stage than trying to get one more ring. Whatever he says, wherever he signs, he can just couch it under this is what makes me happy, and that's why it was the right decision. This is brilliant. Brilliant management of the entire narrative, Caroline. You have cracked the code.
I mean, LeBron James plays chess, not checkers, which is exactly why I think he's had his mind made up all along, or at least he has his mind made up now, that this was a very thoughtful, a thoughtful plan that LeBron has come up with. And also, this is probably LeBron's last year. Maybe it's not, but I think that LeBron, and I use this word not in a negative connotation, but LeBron has been calculated with the way that he wants to go about what might be his final season in the NBA. This is not just a decision that he comes up with overnight. He wakes up one morning and says, you know what? I think I want to go to Miami. LeBron is much smarter than that as a basketball player and as a business person.
Oh, watch us all in shock and awe when he signs a 2-year deal with a third-year player option wherever he goes, just to remind us he might not be done yet. Not the only big news yesterday. LeBron was all the talk until the Clippers and Raptors finally made the Kawhi Leonard trade official. Brandon Ingram, Grady Dick, a host of firsts and swaps, all sorts of picks. You get a pick, you get a pick, everybody gets a pick. How would you rate this one? How do you feel about this for both sides, Caroline?
I mean, good on the Clippers to get that in return because 2 first-round picks. I mean, everything else, like great and all. The 2 first-round picks are really what stands out to me because I don't know how the Clippers got more in return for a 35-year-old Kawhi Leonard that is facing an NBA cap circumvention scandal, a guy who just takes himself out of games whenever he darn well pleases. They got more in return than a 24-year-old LaMelo Ball who may have not even entered his prime yet, coming off of the best year of his career. Good on the Clippers for that. And look, good on the Raptors for acknowledging what they have in Scotty Barnes. So they bring back a guy in Kawhi who is beloved in Toronto, who won a championship in Toronto. They see a guy in Scotty Barnes that is young, has a very bright future ahead of him, and they put a vet, a certified winning veteran next to him. I can see that making sense. I can see how Toronto can view themselves as being a Kawhi away from contending in the East. I don't necessarily think they're a Kawhi away from contending in the East, but it all of a sudden makes the Raptors that much more interesting in what feels like a wide open Eastern Conference next year. And what the Clippers do is get legitimate assets in return for a player with declining value, or at least how I view with declining value as 35 years old. And the Clippers now get some tools that they can rebuild for the future. And getting Brandon Ingram in return, yes, of course, that's an upgrade for Toronto, but Brandon Ingram is not some sort of, just total scrub. So the Clippers can be good enough to not be bottom 3 in the NBA. So they can still be, in contention for the number 1 overall pick, but they have resources and tangible assets in return that they can start building for the future. I think that this is both teams get what they want out of this.
Yeah, and to that end, I just sort of feel okay about both sides. I know we have to have big, huge hot takes on both sides, but I feel okay about it. Look, according to some Vegas sports books, the Raptors have now risen to the 3rd shortest odds in the East behind the Celtics and Knicks to represent the East in the NBA Finals. So certainly Vegas looks at this and says this has a massive effect. Now, one of my favorite numbers I keep bringing up on this show constantly is the minimum game requirement to be considered for postseason awards. That's 65 games. The NBA decided on that threshold. I didn't. So I like to use that threshold looking statistically at how much you can rely on a player. It should be noted, since he left Toronto, Kawhi's only hit that 65-game threshold twice. And one of them was this year at exactly 65 games. So maybe you're betting that you're going to be able to get reliability out of a 35-year-old basketball player. I don't know that I'm as comfortable making that bet. So I do think that there's some risk for the Raptors, but it does bring a push for the Raptors right now. We'll talk more in the show about the Kawhi and Scotty Barnes and what that combination could look like. For the Clippers, it's a total reset because you need a total reset. Everything's just crashed and burned. Nothing turned out the way that you wanted to turn out. Let's just acknowledge that Kawhi Leonard at this point looks like the worst acquisition in Clippers history. For the way that we hyped it and for the way that we turned it into, oh my God, the Clippers could overtake the Lakers in dominance in LA. These are things that were actually being said on major sports networks. I worked there. I was part of it, right? So at some point you look at it and say, for what the expectations were for the Clippers to what they actually got out of it, it was all one big bag of meh. So now what do they do with those draft picks? We'll see. There's a lot of we'll see to this. Right now, I feel pretty good about both sides of this, but that presumes Kawhi's healthy, and that presumes that these draft picks are actually used in a proper way. That's giving a lot of benefit of the doubt to both sides. So I think there's plenty of time left to see whether this turned out to be great or terrible. We'll get back into Kawhi and Scotty later in the show. But coming up next, from the men's side to the women's side, the Commissioner's Cup last night made a statement. We'll tell you about it next.
I mean, yeah, everyone loves to bring up all the pressure and tell me about the pressure. And I'm used to it. I've lived like this for quite some time now. For me, I just try to do my best to live in the moment. I wouldn't trade what I do for the world. So this is exactly where I want to be. And I just try to take it head on and enjoy every experience. I got a wonderful team and family behind me, and that's all that really matters.
The crowd understanding that Jacksonville needs a jolt of energy. It is tough to run inside the 5-yard line because the line of scrimmage is so tight in this game. You see the linebackers sneaking right up there, ready to make an impact. And then we see, bam, in the backfield, C.J. Wyndham taken down for a big loss, and now the pressure's on for a third down.
Clay Fields, one of the physical imposers on this defense, does a great job of getting rid of that wide receiver.
I think this is the steal of the draft. Obviously, I was big on him going at number 1 potentially. But when you look at historically, when we look at the draft, the guys who are the best are the ones that outperform. It's the sons of NBA players. Look at this list here. Kobe Bryant, Steph Curry, Al Horford. These are all all-stars. And I think Carlos Boozer, being the father of Cam, in a weird way, it makes me like Cam Boozer's prospect even more than what he did at Duke, which was outstanding.
From midfield, 3rd and 5, Delora to throw. Delora all day. Delora shuffles left. Delora launches, corner end zone, caught!
Just stay home.
Touchdown! Seneca McKee, corner of the end zone, and Delora finds him for the touchdown, and now a chance to tie it.
1, 2, 3, 4 guys back there. How are you not fanned out across that area?
Liberty players secure $30,000 each for winning the Commissioner's Cup Championship. Aces players get $10K with the loss. They are celebrating in New York as last night was the Commissioner's Cup, the WNBA, and the Liberty become the first team to win that cup twice. Absolutely, Serena dominant. So she had 26. Stewie was 25 and 11. New York cashes in. Asia Wilson did not play in this one. Caroline, what do we make of it?
Oh, it was such a fun night last night. Even just the beginning, the player intros, the energy was crazy. Barclays Center was absolutely packed. We had Spike Lee in his Liberty teal sitting on the sidelines. What a June for Spike Lee in New York basketball, might I add. Very exciting times for them. You mentioned Sabrina Ionescu, 26 points last night. Sabrina, even at the half, surpassed her regular season points total. So at halftime, she scored more points at that point than any other game that she has so far this season. And of course, Sabrina's missed a lot of time due to injury, but still, it was great to see Sabrina kind of get her lick back because she has not been shooting very well. She's been shooting like 30% from the field, like 25% from 3 as she's getting back from injury, as she's acclimating to Chris DeMarco's new offensive system. And that's, I think, the reason why we've seen a lot of peaks and valleys from this Liberty team. At some points so far this season, they've looked like the best team in the league. And then they went on a losing skid. They've lost, before the Commissioner's Cup, they lost 4 of their last 5. Sabrina was really struggling offensively. So I think overall, more than anything, more than the win, more than, the fact that you can call yourselves the first ever 2-time Commissioner's Cup champions in the WNBA, just to watch the Liberty's offense click on all cylinders, to watch Sabrina be a huge part of that. Because, of course, it's fair to maybe look at this under a microscope and say a win over the Aces doesn't feel quite as impactful when Asia Wilson, the best player on the planet, is not on the floor. And I think that's a fair criticism to make, but it wasn't just the outcome. It wasn't just the point scored. It wasn't just the final score. It was the process for me with the Liberty. It was the fact that Breanna Stewart drops 25 points, 11 rebounds. She's an elite defender and an elite scorer and an elite shot creator. To watch Sabrina Ionescu be able to hit from literally anywhere on the floor. She took several deep threes last night. To see Pauline Astier and the way that she can charge the lane, the way that she is just a walking bucket. It was really fun to see the Liberty finally feel like, with all of these pieces at full strength, Sabrina Ionescu at full strength, to watch their offense really click, to watch the pick and roll kind of get back to what they really do best offensively. It just felt like the Liberty really broke through to this next level with Sabrina in the mix.
Yeah, you're 1,000% right. By the way, it should be noted the midseason tournament is working for the W, right? We are paying attention to the Commissioner's Cup. We talk a lot about what's broken in sports. We talk about how to fix everything every time. And certainly when we get to the NBA Cup in the middle of the season, we talk about whether or not that has value. The W Commissioner's Cup is working because people are talking about it, right? So it's doing exactly what it needs to do. And last night felt different. It felt special. So in and of itself, this is already a success for the league, and it's a success for the Liberty. I was a little stunned at how lost offensively Vegas looked throughout the course of this game. Like, Vegas had one option. Jackie Young needed to score, and if it wasn't Jackie Young, everybody else was just standing around heaving it up and couldn't shoot, couldn't hit anything. So obviously, as you and I have talked a lot about, I don't think depth is necessarily a strength of the Aces. I'm being polite there. But last night, even without the depth last night, their lack of ability to find a secondary scorer at all, I expected the team would look different, of course, without Asia. It's just that they looked lost and incapable of really figuring out what to do with the ball when they had the ball offensively, and their defense is a liability at times anyway. So it just felt like Vegas was a step behind from the outside of this game.
Great players are the ultimate deodorant that can cover up any kind of stink. And Asia Wilson is absolutely no exception to that. That, you might have flaws on your roster, but when you have the best player on the planet, 4-time MVP Asia Wilson, you don't really see those warts because she covers all of them up, because she makes what might not be the perfect situation look perfect, because they just continue to win. Because when Asia Wilson is on your team, you just happen to find a way. But with no Asia Wilson, and with the three-point shooting as awful as it was last night for the Aces, 0 for 11 from beyond the arc at halftime. What was their final total? Only 6 of 26, 23% from beyond the arc in totality in that game last night. When you don't have Asia Wilson, who's good for 20 to 30 points on any given night, when the three-point shots aren't falling, you're going to have a really difficult time beating anyone in the WNBA, but especially a team like the Liberty that are, I think, the deepest team in the league. So credit to Jackie Young, though. She went through a little bit of a scoring slump a couple of weeks ago. Jackie Young at 31 points. She led the game in point totals last night, and 25 of those 31 points came in the second half. So credit to Jackie Young for being able to, put it into gear, being able to level up and elevate her team in the second half when they were down, I think it was 14 at halftime. So credit to Jackie Young for being that spark plug that the Aces needed, that Asia Wilson normally is. But it can't just be Jackie Young and nobody else. When Stephanie Talbot gives you 0 points in the starting rotation, it's just not enough. Now, credit to Kennedy Carter. It was fun to see what she was able to provide the Las Vegas offense. She's been out for the last couple of weeks with an illness. So Kennedy Carter coming off the bench, giving you 18 points, that is huge. Now, that's a winning formula. When you can get 18 points from Kennedy Carter off the bench, when Jackie Young can come alive in the second half and give you 31, when Asia Wilson can be in the rotation and be an elite defensive player and an elite scorer for you. But without Asia Wilson, I think the lack of depth was really exposed last night for the Aces.
When you don't have depth, you're off shooting, maybe not the best outside shooting team anyway, and you get your butts just kicked on the boards, you're not going to win a lot of games. It's just, Becky Hammon's got to look back at this and say, what the hell? But I don't want to make this about what Vegas didn't do. I think this is a statement, and it's why yesterday we asked, how confident we were that the winner of the Commissioner's Cup would win it all. And I think the answer to that is, man, that's tough. It's tough because what we saw from the Liberty is what we can see from the Liberty every single night. Like, as much as I want to come in and say, hey, no Asia, no shooting, no rebounding, all of these things make it sound like it's what Vegas didn't do. It's what New York did throughout the course of this. New York made Vegas run so much, they just couldn't stop anything. Whether it was they were chasing ball movement all night, and then they had no gas and nothing left for under the board. So you're right. Other than the third quarter in this game, it was just an absolute domination by the Liberty. And I think the Liberty did send a bit of a message to the entire league, Caroline, of, hey, we are. We make this conversation about the Lynx and the Aces. The Liberty is standing here saying, hey, we are in this title conversation also.
Yeah, and look, the Aces did go on a little bit of a run in the third quarter, made it very close. The Aces even had, a slight lead at one point going into the fourth quarter. But credit to the Liberty to be able to extinguish any run that the Aces went on. It felt like the three-point shooting is really the spark plug for the Liberty. It started a lot of runs. It ended a lot of Aces runs. And to your point, it was an off shooting night for the Aces, not only because it was an off shooting night for the Aces. I look at Chelsea Gray, the point god. She was 3 of 12 from the field and only 7 points. Well, that's because Brianna Stewart was on Chelsea Gray pretty much all night and was able to keep her in check. That's the reason why at this point in the season, Brianna Stewart should be an MVP favorite or one of the MVP favorites because she can do just literally anything. So I felt like anytime the Aces were starting to find some momentum, the Liberty were able to kind of put that in check pretty quickly before things got out of hand, at least.
Yeah, it was a heck of a win by a heck of a team in a heck of an environment for a heck of a trophy. Like everything about last night was a success for New York. So congratulations to the Liberty, your Commissioner's Cup champion. Plenty more to break down on that. But coming up next, we'll take a look at some of the you sure about that statements coming from one draftee and more.
So now Felix Harper sends the motion, takes the snap, takes the pitch, looks over the middle, 2 receivers in the same spot, and that turns into a huge interception for Jacksonville. Lost opportunity, and what a return, what a pick, and what a change of momentum created by Isaiah Major.
Wow. You talk about bend but don't break.
My biggest concern is, can he be an on-ball playmaker? Yes, we saw it in high school, but we know that there's levels to this. So when you get to Kansas to have 38 turnovers and 38 assists, to me as a one-to-one guy, your sample size isn't good enough. Now, we know his big moments were extremely big. They were extremely loud. My man is an elite-level scorer and will fill it up with the best of them. But I want to see if he can grow into a high-level playmaker.
Well, inside the 25 at the 23, Jerome Johnson's going to fire under pressure. He's got a man, and again, touchdown for the Sugar Skulls. Javion Lofton, his second of the night.
I mean, that is the type of drive that you want. Type of drive, just methodically down the field,
Overcoming all those penalties and
all that, and sure enough, you know, the best way to fix it is let's go score a touchdown.
When I think of Christian Pulisic and what he's going through now with this World Cup, can you talk a little bit about that pressure? And you seem like someone who can push a lot of that off, Christian, as well. But does that seep in a little bit?
You know, the cameras are going to be pointing at your direction. You're going to be one of the ones interviewed the most in post-match. At this point now, it's like Christian is Christian, and he's going to deliver greatness, and we can't expect that to be every single minute like any other player.
Axel Lindenberg said his friend spent all day texting him and asking how he would fit in playing with Steph, Draymond, LeBron, and AD. That from our buddy Nick Friedel, which is funny because that's going to bring us to another edition of our Tim Robinson-inspired segment we like to call You Sure About That? Where we take some quote and we... Oh, one more time, Tim.
You sure about that?
Oh, so good. We're going to take a look at some of the quotes in the NBA and figure out how sure we are. And we'll start with the Warriors rookie thinking that about his fit with the Golden Boys. You sure about that? Are we sure that Yaxel is going to be a big part of what they're building in Golden State?
No. It does feel awfully poetic, though, that Golden State drafted who I believe is the oldest player in this draft class, and Axel Lindenberg, and he's going to be like 24 once the season starts. So that is just perfect. I feel like a lot of people were dragging and trolling Axel Lindenberg when they saw these quotes kind of aggregated on social media. But if you actually listen to what he said, he's very self-aware. He knows very much so that he is not going to be a huge part of this team or a huge part of this rotation. He even said, he was like, yeah, I can be that guy that can come in and, eat up some clock and get some extra plays so those guys can take some plays off. I can come in and be the energy guy. I can be the young energy guy for this experienced team. So Axel Lindenberg is at least self-aware enough to know that he is not, all he is going to be, if he's not going to be, moved on at this point in the season, is all he's going to be is an energy guy, a guy who comes in off the bench, a guy who's just kind of there. He knows that, of course, when you're on a team with Steph and LeBron.
I think there's a self-awareness to all of this, right? I think he's joking and he understands he's part of the joke, and he's going to be a great quote machine in his NBA career. You are right. He was the oldest player drafted in this year's NBA draft, 23 years old. And that's because he played 3 years at JUCO, then a couple of years at UAB, then Michigan. So, like, he's had a whole run to get there. But even this quote, he doesn't normally play rookies as much. He has a history of that. But the way this team's looking right now, I'm going to have a really good chance to play, maybe even start. And then all of a sudden, just when he gets confident he can get out on the court, we'll see. You sure about that? I'm not sure about anything for Yaxel. But what I am sure of is that this Yaxel quote machine is going to be an absolute delight, Caroline. Like, whatever this is, he is not afraid to be part of the personality of the organization. And it appears to me, I'm going to guess that he and Draymond are sort of jabbing at each other, Michigan guy, Michigan State guy. But I'm here for every ounce of it. I need them to be on the same team just to see how this rookie-vet relationship goes, because neither of them seem to be afraid to trash talk the other. So this one looks absolutely delightful. Let's keep going with the Tim Robinson-inspired moments here. LeBron out in Lakerland. There's an all-star waiting to take his roster spot. Jalen Duren reportedly meeting with the Lakers. Duren wants to sign and trade out of Detroit after what he thought was a low ball offer. Jalen Duren, the answer to the Lakers' big man prayers. You sure about that?
You sure about that?
Is he the answer? No, Tim Robinson, I'm not sure about that. But can he be an answer? Yeah, like, I'll buy into that. I feel like everyone is piling on Jalen Duren for being, frankly, as bad as he was in the postseason. And look, he was bad. He got benched several times. It wasn't a great outing for Jalen Duren. But in the regular season, though, he was averaging 20 points and 10 rebounds per game. Like, I'll take that. There are a lot of guys that didn't look great in the postseason, but we're not calling them scrubs. Like, sure, it was an immediate reaction when Chet got cooked by Wemby as much as he did. But then we all got up here and we said it's silly to think that the Oklahoma City is actually going to move on from Chet Holmgren, a year removed from winning a championship with them, just because he got cooked by a 7'5" French alien. So I think we can maybe take the good with the bad, acknowledge that Jalen Duren had an all-NBA regular season, got cooked in the postseason, and that was embarrassing and that was bad. But the Lakers need defensive help. The Lakers need a big man. The Lakers need a center. And when Jalen Duren is 6'10", 250 pounds, I think he absolutely can fill a hole.
By the way, I mean, Detroit got cooked in the end by the Knicks. The Knicks made Wemby look awful. So, like, I do think that there's a little context to what we saw here for Jalen Duren. Like, let's acknowledge maybe it's the way he was being defended by some teams also. Look, I'm not saying Jalen Duren is the answer to everything, but I think my Tim Robinson moment, my you sure about that is...
You sure about that?
Thank you, Tim. I'm not as sure as everybody else that Detroit's going to let him out the door. I keep saying this, but he is a restricted free agent. So this concept that he's just going to require a sign and trade to the Lakers, we love it because we all know that the Lakers are supposed to get a big man for Luka. Once we've heard that enough, we've decided that that is what is going to happen. The Lakers are going to figure out they're going to get a big man. And Duren is a good big man. So you're bringing in the all-star big man to team up with Luka. Everybody seems to just want to make this happen. But if I'm the Pistons, why am I letting that happen? Why am I letting him walk away? Do we really believe that he's going to force a trade? Do we believe that Duren, he's lost so much equity, according to this narrative, in the organization, that they're lowballing his offer because they're trying to manage his costs? But instead of doing that, they're just going to trade him away somewhere? I have a hard time seeing that logic. So while I do think he would be a quality answer for the Lakers, I don't think that the Pistons are going to let him out the door. So we're used to, I know, player empowerment in the NBA, creating the opportunity for everybody to walk out the door. But if I'm Detroit, I'm not letting that happen without driving a hard bargain. All right, how about this one? Our colleague, KOC, doesn't sound very confident about the post-LeBron plan in LA. What's the post-LeBron master plan for Rob Pelinka? I believe it when I see it. 6 years of sloppy decisions ever since the 2020 championship can't inspire much reason for optimism for Lakers fans. Are you more sure about that for the Lakers than KOC is?
No, I'm not. I mean, look, I will defer to Kevin O'Connor when it comes to anything NBA related. So no, I'm not more sure about it than KOC is, because I think it is fair to say that when you look back on the LeBron era of the Lakers, it's pretty underwhelming. Sure, yes, I know they won a championship, and no, just because it was in the bubble, it doesn't get an asterisk, but we all kind of view it differently. And there's been so many years of first round exits, second round exits in the playoffs for the Lakers, if they even make the postseason at all. So, in the LeBron era, it's what, 8 years for the Lakers for LeBron, with the Lakers for LeBron, one championship and a bunch of first round exits. Like, I think it is fair to question what the plan is for Rob Pelinka when you've had the last near decade be pretty underwhelming with one of the, if not the greatest players that we've ever seen in the history of the sport.
You know what? I'm going to do the dumb thing here, and I'm going to go against KOC. And here's why.
Oof,
There's a
careful.
couple of things that say, I know. I'm doing this very carefully, but there's a couple of things that stand out. Number one, to me, Austin Reeves, who, by the way, was an undrafted free agent signed by the Lakers. Rob Pelinka was part of finding him. Rob Pelinka was part of bringing in Austin Reeves, who just got paid for a reason. Rob Pelinka is the person that, whether we believe he deserves credit or not for it, fleeced the Mavs to get rid of AD, who's just dead man walking every time he's on the court, and instead get themselves Luka Doncic, which is setting them up for the next generation. So this is when we say, yeah, but Rob was never able to get the right 3-and-D shooters around. First and foremost, I think we have this presumption that there's just, you walk into a gym and there's 1,000 3-and-D guys that can just stand it around. It's like, we'll go pick one. They're all over here. They're harder to find than we give credit for. And the other part of this is, how much of the blame for the Lakers roster construction should we put on the guy that we actually know has had a lot of say on the Lakers roster construction for a very long time? And that is one LeBron James. We can't sit here all the time and say, well, LeBron wants this and LeBron wants this and LeBron wants this, and then turn around and say, oh, but Rob Pelinka didn't deliver. I don't know, man. I think if we're going to look at roster construction issues, some of that blame has to go to the guy that, for the last several years until Luka was acquired, was being asked at every turn, hey, man, you good if we do this? You want us to go get this guy? How many times have we sat here in the summer talking about some wild trade that was going to be made just because LeBron wants to play with a certain person? So maybe there's some freedom that comes from not having to deal with meeting LeBron's expectations. And I'm going to give Pelinka credit because the two best players on this roster he acquired.
I don't give Rob Pelinka a lot of credit for DeLuca. And maybe that's totally and completely unfair of me. I do get that. But I viewed that as far more of a total and complete blunder from Nico Harrison than it is some sort of expert fleecing from Rob Pelinka. Although they did acquire Luka Doncic for a literal bag of peanuts under his tutelage, under his watch. So sure, we can get credit for that. You bring up a fair LeBron point. But also at the end of the day, it is Rob Pelinka's job to construct this roster. It's not LeBron James's job. Of course, that's, what you would do as a member of the front office to run something by your absolute star player, greatest player to ever play the game. Like, of course you're going to do that. But at the end of the day, it's on you to build a roster that can contend. LeBron's not going to get fired because he said yes or no to a certain player that you inquired to him about. So this will be a really huge test for Rob Pelinka, for JJ Redick, and for Luka Doncic, because this is their team now. This is their organization. It's Pelinka, it's JJ Redick, and it's Luka Doncic. This is their team. What can you build from it?
Yeah, what JJ Redick looks like with the Lakers without LeBron is also super interesting. It's about to be a wild chapter in LA. All right, one more, finally. And Tim Robinson inspired moment here. Former number 1 overall pick. That's right, number 1 overall pick, Ben Simmons, had a lot to say in his profile in Men's Magazine, including this on a potential NBA comeback. Maybe he'll go back to Philly. Miami would be nice. So all of a sudden, he's just putting himself back in the association, plotting his comeback. You sure about that?
You sure about that?
No. I agree, though, Ben. Miami would be nice. But him saying that is like when Jake Paul said, I think I'm going to go play football at Stanford. Okay, Jake. Sure. Yeah, you go ahead and think that. Sure. No, I'm not, Tim. Sure, Ben. I think I'll go play for Philadelphia or Miami. Okay, Ben. Ben Simmons has found more success deep sea fishing than he has playing basketball in the last 5+ years. So this might feel like a little bit more of a pipe dream than it is an actual reality for Ben Simmons.
Yeah, no, these are some weird, Drunk History was a show that I loved for years, where they made people get tanked and then just try and recant history stories while they're reenacted. I think that's what we're seeing right now. Like Jake Paul and Ben Simmons are absolutely punking us in some sort of drunk sports history show where they're going back and reliving what they think they should have done, and it's not real. None of this can be real. Ben Simmons has a better shot at playing an NBA player in a movie than he does of ever playing in another NBA game. Let's just be honest about this. And the movie needs to be a funny one because we're going to watch the shot. We're going to want to laugh. I'm just saying, Ben Simmons, congratulations. You accomplished something most people will never accomplish in their lives. You were the #1 overall pick in the draft. And I hope you find tremendous peace with that, because that is an accomplishment no one can ever take away from you. That's the end of nice things that I have to say about Ben Simmons' NBA career. So that's all I have to say about that.
He was also the #1 overall pick and didn't even make the NCAA tournament. So that is awfully impressive as well.
Ben Simmons doing God's work. All right, we'll keep you updated on more Ben Simmons talk. Probably not. But in the meantime, we got to get you updated on what happened last night. Yet another World Cup unbelievable moment. We'll tell you about it.
What's the difference in your show and their show?
I'm going to say we have the superior talkers because I'm on the show, and nobody's a better talker than me in all of professional wrestling, and that's just a fact. We just feel really special, and we feel very distinct, and I think the biggest reason why, more than anything else, is because when I'm watching All Elite Wrestling, I don't feel like I am watching somebody play a character.
The game will end on this play, a 2-point try. Anthony Garrett sends 2. He's going to run. Now he's going to throw. Back of the end zone. Knocked away at the last moment. And it's Quentin Randolph, the wide receiver, playing D-back to win it for Vegas.
Wow. What a call. This is a call. If he puts a little more on it.
This is an ideal situation because in order to stay on the floor and get touches, you're going to have to defend. And DeBonta said this week that he knows his biggest flaw was his off-ball defense at BYU. And I can't wait to see him prove that he can do that at a high level in the NBA on top of everything else that's made him a #1 pick.
Ice, you mentioned John Wall.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be closer to John Wall than it is Kwame Brown.
For Washington. Let's hope so for DC.
I hope so. With the stuff that he's got, if he can just throw the ball over the plate, which he has, figured out the last, 2 months, he's going to be pretty much unhittable. I was at that start that he had against the Yankees that night. He came out just electric, just throwing, heater after heater, actually just challenging, guys in the strike zone. When you throw the ball that hard and you throwing it over the plate and challenging guys, it's going to be hard for guys to pick it up.
Brendan Sorsby counsel. Brendan has made a decision to focus on his recovery and being the best player he can be next year when he will enter the NFL draft without any restriction. Let's get you caught up on some of the big events according to over the course of yesterday, I should say, including this one. The Sorsby saga has stopped until we get to the NFL draft in 2027. Caroline took a long time to get here, but I think what you see now is a legal team that finally realized there's no fight left to be had. And now, finally, we get to closure and the best decision for the player and his future.
It's the right thing to do to wave the white flag, but I think it was the right thing to do to wave the white flag a long time ago. Because now Brendan Sorsby and his representation are like, okay, fine, we'll work on ourselves. We'll step away from the limelight for a little bit. After so many professional leagues already came out and said, we're not going to have you. The CFL said, we don't want any part of Brendan Sorsby. Obviously, the NFL said, no, we're not going to open up the supplemental draft because you couldn't go play college football. The NCAA and so many members of the NCAA, so many athletic departments and athletic directors across college sports said, we are not interested in engaging not just with Brendan Sorsby, but with Texas Tech as an athletic department. So after everybody already shot you down and said, no, we don't want to be part of you. He's like, fine, then I'll step away on my own. So I think it would have been a better look for Brennan Sorsby and for all of the people that are advising him to do that and make that decision themselves. But better late than never, because that is the right decision to just walk away from this, cut your losses, try again next season.
Also, one thing that I think has to be acknowledged in this process is if he's fighting through rehab and an addict, one thing you have to think about are the scenarios that you're putting yourself in, the situations you're putting yourself in. One of the beautiful things in the music business a lot of people don't realize exists is if you're out on the road and you're playing for a band and the Grammys, if you have an addiction issue, the Grammy Association will step in and they will send you to rehab and they will find a replacement for your gig so that nothing changes. They will take care of everything for you. But one of the decisions you have to make when you get out of rehab is, are you comfortable going back on the road? Because you're going to be put right back around the very temptation that got you where you were. One thing that I don't think we've acknowledged enough is that if Brendan Sorsby's an addict and he's going through 12-step programs and he's living one day at a time, putting him back on a football field quickly could be putting him right back around the very temptation that got him to the situation he's in. Now, certainly there's also the devil that you don't know of having a ton of off time, and how does he handle that? And what does that mean for him mentally? I don't know the answer to that. But if the true answer is Brendan Sorsby needs help, let's get him help every single day. And every single day he can figure out whether or not he's prepared to step back on a football field. But now, luckily, he'll get the entire year to learn how to live through addiction and then be the best person that he can be. And if that allows him back into the NFL, or into the NFL, I should say, then great. And if it doesn't, maybe that's ultimately what's best for the man as an addict. Hopefully we won't have any more Brendan Sorsby updates for a while. Hopefully this closes the chapter and he can focus on his recovery. We can focus on more sports. Let's get to that now. More news to get to. Serena Williams lost yesterday in 3 sets. She lost this after 4 years away in singles competition. It got spicy there in the middle. In the middle, everybody just, social media was blowing up because she went on a run, felt like maybe she was going to be able to do the impossible. What did you make of this incredible moment?
It's exactly what it was. An incredible moment. And I think we always get so caught up in sports of the next best thing, who's getting what, who's going where, who hasn't done enough, who's getting fired, that sometimes, and I'm guilty of this as well, with this being my job, we work around sports every single day. Sometimes I have to remind myself to just take a step back and enjoy exactly what we're watching. I think the World Cup has been really refreshing for me in that light of just enjoying what we're watching. But just getting the opportunity to watch Serena Williams play tennis at Wimbledon, one of the greatest venues in the sport, was just a really beautiful thing. So no, Serena Williams didn't win, but win or lose, it's just a beautiful moment. Especially because Serena Williams has nothing left to prove. What more does Serena Williams have to win or prove to all of us? She is already one of the greatest, if not the greatest, to ever play the sport. She already has broken through so many barriers in this sport. She already has paved the way for so many great young women tennis players to come. So it was just a cool opportunity to get to watch her in one of the greatest venues, most iconic moments in iconic moments and venues in tennis. So just cool at the end of the day, just special.
Seeing her wave to the crowd with their 8-year-old daughter, Olympia, there made me think of all of the athletes that I've become friends with that say all the time, I just wish my kids could see me on the field or on the court once. I just wish that my kids could have the opportunity to do that. And for her to have that opportunity, to have her daughter see her play that way was just, I think it was beautiful. Everything about it was beautiful. Sometimes life isn't about wins and losses. Sometimes life's about memories and moments. And this was absolutely that for all of us as fans and for everyone in her life, for sure. Lastly, we're going to preview tonight's USMNT versus Bosnia showdown later in the show. Calm down. All right. But there were some other scores that we got to get caught up on. Norway knocks off Ivory Coast 2-1. I'm going to learn how to speak. Erling Haaland tabbed his fifth goal across 3 World Cup games, which was great. But not to be outdone, it was outdone because we were all freaking out. Kylian Mbappe broke the record for most goals in World Cup knockout matches and then moved within a single goal of Messi's overall tournament mark. 2 goals leads France to a 3-0 win over Sweden. Yes, the Norway win was a little bit more dramatic, but I don't know, Caroline. Something about Mbappe has just absolutely captivated the world.
I mean, it's so captivating that Erling Haaland's 5 goals in 3 games is like, okay, cute, whatever. 5 goals in 3 games is absolutely absurd. So it kind of made me think, like, are we living in the golden age of the sport of soccer? Or maybe I'll just say the modern golden age of soccer, because I'm not going to act like I'm a historian that can go back to the 1950s in this sport. But right now, we have the consensus 2 greatest players of all time, and Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. They're playing at the same time. They're playing in the same like modern age. But then we also have the future greatest players that are kind of coming up and making their names known in the global spotlight. And Kylian Mbappe, Lamine Yamal, Erling Haaland. So we have the old guard, greatest of all times, and then we have the next great generation and crop of players that are coming up and will take over the throne once Messi and Ronaldo decide to step away from the game. So this is just such a cool time to watch greatness out on the pitch.
To continually see stars step up when that's the main thing that's making most of us gravitate to some of these broadcasts. Like, how many people watching this right now a month ago even knew who Erling Haaland was, right? But over the course of what we've seen from the last month, now everybody becomes gravitates to it and just becomes fans of it. And then you turn on the match and you wonder, okay, am I going to get another goal? And the fact that they continue to deliver, I mean, I say this all the time. Who needs reality TV when sports are the original reality TV? That's what everybody gravitates to. But this is more like a Disney storybook ending to every one of these matches. We've had close match after close match. We've had bonus time. We've had penalty kicks. We've had all of this incredible drama. And even a game like last night, the 3-0 win for France over Sweden, no, it wasn't dramatic the way some of the others have been. But when Mbappe's on the pitch, nobody wants to look away. That's the thing, is we're all sitting here, staying up past our bedtime just to watch Kylian Mbappe do what Kylian Mbappe can do. And I think stars delivering has to become one of the stories of the World Cup that we're going to remember forever. Because as much as I've said repeatedly, the dynamic play and incredible production from USMNT is a big part of why we're falling in love with this. Caroline, stars delivering at this level. We're a country that loves superstars acting like superstars. We love famous people being famous. Every single time a star's needed to be exactly that, they've done that. I don't know that you could script this any better for just engagement in matches that may not matter as much to most of us, but they matter suddenly because of who's playing.
I think the 2 most important things to attract the casuals, which I think is kind of what the World Cup is trying to do, at least in the United States. There are far more casual sports fans soccer fans out there than there are diehard soccer fans, at least in the US. The 2 things that I think are most attractive are, to your point, celebrities doing celebrity things and elite players playing in an elite way. We've seen that from Mbappe. We've seen that from Messi. We've seen that from Erling Haaland. We've seen that from Lamine Yamal. But it's also really fun underdog stories. And we saw that with Paraguay taking down Germany. We've seen that with, Cape Verde and the fact that they were able to draw so many ties. So it's fun to see both ends of the spectrum and stories that are really easy to kind of root for. The greats and also the underdogs.
It's amazing to me to watch Twitter, Twitter X is not always the easiest place to watch. But during sporting events, Twitter X is an undefeated place to be while you're watching action go down. And the number of people with platform and fame that I saw over the course of the last couple of days tweeting, what's the best way to keep watching these guys? Where do I go? I think it was Kirk Herbstreit last night that was tweeting, what club teams do I follow? How do I continue to follow the story of some of these guys that I love watching? That's what's happening for everybody right now. Again, I'll go back to the fact that there are a lot of people that frankly didn't know much about Kylian Mbappe a month ago, and now they're out there looking to try and find their Real Madrid kid, right? Like, that's what's happening overnight. You are watching a transformation of fandom that is hard to find any other way. And it takes the confluence of things happening at once. It takes all of these things coming together at the same time to make it happen. But that's exactly what's happening. And the fact is, the number of people in my life that have hit me up asking where we're watching tonight, what the plan is, what bar it is. Every bar in and around Connecticut has some sort of a watch party, which is the theme of the way the country is going right now. This is just, I don't know. It was a magical moment. I don't know what I expected coming into the World Cup this season, covering it with Yahoo Sports. I knew that we were going to do great coverage as a company because we're committed to doing great coverage of every sport. I didn't expect this, and it's been a magical thing for us to be a very small part of covering. All right, coming up, speaking of things that we get to cover, the Indoor Football League is one of those. The commish going to join us next.
I mean, yeah, everyone loves to bring up all the pressure and tell me about the pressure. And I'm used to it. I've lived like this for quite some time now. For me, I just try to do my best to live in the moment. I wouldn't trade what I do for the world. So this is exactly where I want to be. And I just try to take it head on and enjoy every experience. I got a wonderful team and family behind me. And that's all that really matters.
Understanding that Jacksonville needs a jolt of energy. It is tough to run inside the 5-yard line because the line of scrimmage is so tight in this game. You see the linebacker sneaking right up there, ready to make an impact. And then we see, bam, in the backfield, C.J. Wyndham taken down for a big loss, and now the pressure's on for a third down.
Clay Fields, one of the physical imposers on this defense, does a great job of getting rid of that wide receiver.
I think this is the steal of the draft. Obviously, I was big on him going at number 1 potentially. But when you look at historically, when we look at the draft, the guys who are the best are the ones that outperform. It's the sons of NBA players. Look at this list here. Kobe Bryant, Steph Curry, Al Horford. These are all all-stars. And I think Carlos Boozer, being the father of Cam, in a weird way, it makes me like Cam Boozer's prospect even more than what he did at Duke, which was outstanding.
From midfield. 3rd and 5. Delora to throw. Delora all day. Delora shuffles left. Delora launches. Corner end zone. Caught.
Just stay home.
Touchdown. Seneca McKee. Corner of the end zone. And Delora finds him for the touchdown, and now a chance to tie it.
1, 2, 3, 4 guys back there. How are you not fanned out across that area?
A month ago, we celebrated 220,000 viewers. Since then, we've broken that mark 3 more times, including a record 454,134 viewers on Yahoo Sports Network. For once, that is not a misspeak by me. Those are real numbers that coming from Todd Tryon, the commissioner of the IFL, who joins us right now. Commish, look, I don't know what I expected. I know Caroline and I were both honored when we found out we were going to be part of the IFL. I had no idea what to expect, but 454,134, when I saw it, was jarring. What was your reaction when you saw those numbers?
You know, as people who know me, I don't get really emotional. I don't get too excited, but you know, that's a big number. It's a big number from where we started. You know, I know it's not the number we're going to hit as we proceed, because we've got high expectations here. But you know, I'm curious on some of these 200 plus games, how many it Fitzy that you're doing the play-by-play on it.
It's look, it's been a lot. I'm not gonna lie, it's been a lot of them. I'm not gonna lie, but it's an honor that people care. Caroline, I'll stake it, but like honor that people even care to watch. But my God, it's been electric to see the numbers.
People come for the indoor football and they stay for the Jason Fitz, and I will stand by that one. And look, it's not just viewership; it's also getting on Sports Center top 10. It's also Puka Williams running into a smoothie shop and chugging a strawberry banana smoothie after a touchdown, and that going viral on social media. How when it comes to your vision for this league, how close are we? How close is the IFL to achieving what you thought this league was really capable of?
You know, I would say like any great business, the goal is just kind of keep building, and we're getting close. I mean, we've got some areas that we need to tighten up. I still got some uniform infractions I'm not real happy with, but as far as the overall product, I mean, all you had to do was tune into that game Vegas this last weekend. You've got to stay to the end. That last 60 seconds is unbelievable. And you know, for people who are in venue, we encourage you obviously to go to the games. It's a big party, and at some point a football game is going to break out, and you know, I think that's what you continue to see. Our talent is top notch, And the mission of our league is provide a platform to build your brand. Whether you're a broadcaster, an official, a coach, a player, a cheerleader, doesn't really matter. And that's really the vision, and that's what we continue to build.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that Vegas game, 2 touchdowns in the last 17 seconds, including a Hail Mary. I think I lost my voice for 3 days after screaming on that one, Don. Okay, so talk to me about expansion, though, because we've talked a lot on this show about WNBA expansion and how you have to be careful. You have to make sure that you pick the right markets. You also have to make sure you don't spread your rosters too thin. The IFL's been aggressive this year with some announcements, including the one you see here for Athens. What's your process been like in trying to select new ownership in new cities?
We're striking while the iron is hot, and I'd be surprised if 2 was the end of our announcements. But there's really 4 key things that you're looking for. You're looking for quality of ownership, and that standard has continued to rise to where it takes a pretty impressive ownership group to get into the room. You look for geographical location. There's strategic areas that we're trying to grow in. Do you fit in that area? Arenas. Is it an arena that wants you there? Is it a city that wants you there? Is it an arena that is capable to host our games? And the last one is operator. Who's operating the thing? This is like no other traditional business out there, and it takes some experience to run it. And so as long as you've got those 4 key components, we feel the talent's out there when it comes to the players, the coaching side of things. Right now we've got some great assistant coaches out there just waiting their turn. And so we feel that the environment is perfect for us to expand in an aggressive manner.
And I have heard Athens, Georgia, and Austin, Texas, they like their football. But you mentioned it that you'd be surprised if you stop at just 2 expansion teams. What plans are in place to expand even further? And what are some markets that you're keeping your eye on?
The Southeast, when we brought in Jacksonville 3 years ago, part of bringing a team on an island, it says you're going to commit to building that region. And so the Southeast is a region that we continue to focus on, southeast to the east. And so that's the best hint I can give you without giving too much away, but that continues to be our focus.
So when you have a team, because the interesting thing to me is that you're starting from scratch for these new teams. Like I've had the opportunity to meet some of the ownership people in Athens. I've known Pollock for years, right? And I saw that they put out a poll yesterday to name their team. When you're starting from scratch, how involved, as commissioner, how involved are you, or how much is it just up to them to decide logos and naming and all of these sorts of issues that we don't even think about for most sports?
Well, we at the league level have a little to say in the color scheme and the name of the team. We want to be careful that we don't get too carried away on what we're allowing them to name, and then we don't want too many matching colors and things out there. And so that's really where the league's involved, and then we're just there as a support group. Mike Salmon there, he is a very experienced personnel as far as building out and working in sports teams. So we feel really good with his experience that it's not, our league staff it's it's not real big, and we can't get too spread out. And so when we do bring on teams, if they've got experienced operators, it really helps with the development. But, it gives them, that they had a full roughly 16-month runway before their opener next year. And so that's why our deadline is July 31st, because we feel about 10 months is the minimum you need to get this up and going. But that experience at the operating levels is a big deal because we can only work with so much here at the league office while handling the other teams that we have out there.
We know the future of the IFL is so incredibly bright. I think I can speak for both myself and Jason and say that we are so proud to at least play a little bit of a part in that. But we've got IFL football going on right now. We've got some pushes for the postseason. What should fans expect over the next couple of months as we head into the playoffs?
At some point, people are going to look at this schedule and be like, wow, whoever put this thing together knew what he was talking about. Because you're going to strategically over the next 4 weeks, we have got crucial games, multiple. I mean, even this weekend, we've got Green Bay there at Orlando, who has suddenly gotten hot. We've got Arizona going up to San Diego, which is now on Yahoo Sports on Monday night. Each weekend, there are matchups that are must-see that's got huge playoff implications because the fight to host home field is a big deal because it's really tough to win on the road, especially come playoff time.
You got to be honest with me, Commish, all right? I'm going to ask you the question I've always wanted to ask every commissioner of every sports league, but I feel like we're friends. We can ask this. Which coach blows you up the most? Like, who's the pain in the butt that you know is going to start texting you right away, constantly? You're just gonna, like, you look at your phone, you're like, yeah, here we go. Who blows you up the most?
Well, it has progressively gotten better as I've been able to, since bringing on Jared Widman, I've allowed him to kind of step in there and take most of those phone calls. And, I've blocked some coaches at this point.
Protect your peace.
But listen. I'm easily accessible. I'm here to answer questions. Don't call me with a problem unless you got a solution. Is really what I try to preach to these guys. And these coaches, they do a great job, but there's definitely a couple that call more than others.
It was a very good and political answer from you, Kamish, even though Fitz and I probably have a couple of names going on in our heads of who we would think that might be. That's a big pain in the butt, but we won't expose anybody on this show. But it's true. There's great coaches in the IFL, guys that care so passionately about their players, about this league, about the success of this league, guys who have a lot of history playing in arena and indoor football. What is your role in finding the right coaches for this league, knowing that a lot of the success of the individual teams and the league itself falls in their hands?
I try not to have too big a say in things, because if things don't turn out right, I don't want to point the finger back to me. But what I will do is, especially these new teams that come in, you give recommendations on a list standpoint. I mean, we've got a pretty good top 5 to 7 future coaches out there that have got great resumes that, if somebody asks, okay, I'll answer. If somebody asks about somebody specific, I'll answer. But I never will insert myself and say, hey, this is what you should do. But yes, there's a lot of, most of our coaches have played our game, which is a big deal because we're a different style of game. And so a lot of assistants out there right now are just waiting their turn. And we've got former head coaches that are assistants that are, trying to get back into the mix. This is a really tough industry to go outside of the game and grab yourself a coach, just because there's so many nuances that go along with recruiting and game planning and things like that. But a lot of great coaches out there. And, I think we're well positioned for growth with what we have sitting out there.
One of the players that's in all football news has been Brendan Sorsby, obviously, repeatedly. We know he won't be in the NFL. Other leagues have spoken out. Would Sorsby, or a player that's gone through what he's gone through, be eligible for the IFL?
Well, sure he would be. I mean, he absolutely would be. And I got to believe that, it's all about opportunity for somebody like that. Right now I'm guessing his sights are bigger than our league, but at the end of the day, you need to play. And there's only so many professional platforms out there that he can get an opportunity to show that, the guy can play. And we've not necessarily him, but we've had people like that come through the IFL through the years and give themselves a chance to rehab. But it's tough to get once that window in the NFL has closed, it is really tough to kick it back open. But he's a special talent. He's gonna fall somewhere. We'll see what happens.
Commissioner, it has been an honor to get to call so many games this year for both of us. So you guys can check out, obviously, the IFL across Yahoo Sports Network all the time. I'll be in Orlando this weekend, so check that out. The IFL National Championship scheduled Sunday, October 16th. That is when it all comes to a head and a trophy goes out. I cannot wait. Commissioner Todd Tryon, we appreciate your time. Thanks for all the platform that you've given us, and thanks for the partnership that we've had with the IFL. It means a lot to all of us. We appreciate you.
You guys are. It's August 16th. It's a championship game in Tucson, and you guys are outstanding and appreciate all you do. I think July 11th is the next one that you two are together there, Tucson at Arizona, if I'm correct. Yep. But the game this weekend, Orlando, that'll be Green Bay. That'll be quite a game.
Yeah, I can't wait. Green Bay, Orlando is going to be epic. I cannot wait for I've been lucky. I keep getting dramatic finishes, so we'll see if I can hold myself together. Todd, we appreciate you. Todd, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We'll see you out on the road, my friend.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Great stuff from Todd Tryon. Again, National Championship Sunday, August 16th. Don't want to miss it. Coming up, we're going to rank the NBA's best new duos.
So now Felix Harper sends the motion, takes the snap, takes the pitch. Looks over the middle. Two receivers in the same spot, and that turns into a huge interception for Jacksonville. Lost opportunity, and what a return, what a pick, and what a change of momentum created by Isaiah Major.
Wow. You talk about bend but don't break.
My biggest concern is, can he be an on-ball playmaker? Yes, we saw it in high school, but we know that there's levels to this. So when you get to Kansas to have 38 turnovers and 38 assists, to me as a one-to-one guy, your sample size isn't good enough. Now, we know his big moments were extremely big. They were extremely loud. My man is an elite level scorer and will fill it up with the best of them. But I want to see if he can grow into a high-level playmaker.
Well, inside the 25 at the 23, Jerome Johnson's going to fire under pressure. He's got a man, and again, touchdown for the Sugar Skulls. Javion Lofton, his second of the night.
I mean, that is the type of drive that you want. Type of drive, just methodically down the field,
overcoming all those penalties and
all that. And sure enough, you know, the best way to fix it is let's go score a touchdown.
When I think of Christian Pulisic and what he's going through now with this World Cup, can you talk a little bit about that pressure? And you seem like someone who can push a lot of that off, Christian, as well. But does that seep in a little bit?
You know, the cameras are going to be pointing at your direction. You're going to be one of the ones interviewed the most in post-match. At this point now, it's like Christian is Christian, and like he's going to deliver greatness, and we can't expect that to be every single minute like any other player.
The Mets and Yankees have a combined record of 9-21 since the Knicks won the NBA Finals. That just feels cruel. That feels cruel to do to New York fans right now. But joining us now, host and reporter for NBC Sports. You can see him on the desk for NBC's Sunday Night Baseball. Ahmed Fareed, we appreciate your time so much. He'll be helping to cover, I cannot wait for this, Star Spangled Sunday, July 5th. Want to hear about that in just a little bit. Excited for it. But Ahmed, New York baseball going through a lot right now. Start with the Mets. All right. They fired their managers. Fans and analysts still seem to agree that Mendoza wasn't to blame. So what is to blame for the problems for the Mets?
Well, I feel sorry for him as much as you can feel sorry for a billionaire. I don't know that it's that high of a threshold, but they've spent the money. They tried to build the roster. They tried to add the pitching with Freddie Peralta. They gave Juan Soto all he wanted, and it's just not working out. I do a podcast with CC Sabathia, too, and it was early on in the year. It was just all those bad vibes in New York, and he told me it's like once those bad vibes start going flowing, you're in trouble, and that's exactly what happened to the Mets, and they've had a hard time turning it around. Yeah, I think, it just has not come together for them, and they're stuck in a league now where you have elite teams, maybe the top 5 in baseball over in the National League. And so it has just not come together. And then you start hearing some of the stories about things in the clubhouse and Juan Soto. Is he part of the team? Is he not part of the team? And so now that affects you going forward. So I think that there are some non-baseball things that are affecting the Mets right now, but there's enough baseball things, too, that have made life difficult for them.
You say it's hard to feel bad for the Mets. I also think it's very hard to feel bad for the New York Yankees, but they are on a 6-game losing skid. They just got swept by the Red Sox. They could be facing being swept by the Tigers today, but they've been injured. They've been banged up. Jazz Chisholm was banged up. Aaron Judge is banged up. Giancarlo Stanton's been out for a long time. Max Fried has been out for a long time. Yeah. Are the Yankees' issues solely rooted in injury, or are there bigger issues at hand there?
I do think it is injury for them. Obviously, you miss a guy like Aaron Judge. We've seen what they've done in the past when Aaron Judge has been out. Now, the thing is, this year, at least immediately when he went, the first 2 weeks or so, their offense was still scoring runs. They were still winning some games. And so it was like, oh, maybe this time it'll be a little bit different. Maybe they have enough depth around Aaron Judge they built a lineup that can score runs even without him. And they did do that for quite a while. But you just look in the American League, like I mentioned before, the National League has the elite teams. The American League, who do you have? You have the Yankees. Out west, you don't know who's going to win that division. In the Central, you don't know who's going to win that division. The Rays, I think, a little bit of smoke and mirrors, although they keep winning, despite me saying that week in and week out. The Yankees are the team to beat in the American League, and I remember when I was working out in San Francisco covering the San Francisco Giants, doing their pregame and postgame shows for a while. When the years that they would win the World Series, they had stretches in August, sometimes in July, where they were the worst team in baseball. And so we see it year in and year out where it's baseball. It's 162. You're going to look pretty bad at some stretches, but I think pound for pound, the Yankees still, for me, are the team to beat in the American League.
So there's so many bad teams in the American League. What do we make of the White Sox then? Are they just sort of feasting, or are they an actual legitimate team to you?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of both, but I do think they're the real deal. I don't think they're going anywhere. You see right now, it's like there's a division that, 500 might win it. I don't think Cleveland is what they have been in the past, although they always find ways to win late in the year. With Murakami out for Chicago, they keep scoring runs. I think Vargas is the real deal. Antonacci is the real deal at the top of the lineup. They've got all this young talent that is proving that, what they did in the minor leagues, they can do at the major league level. So they can score runs. Can they have the pitching to sustain in a playoff series or deep in the year if they get a couple injuries? I don't know. That is TBD. But I think in this division that is wide open, the Detroit Tigers have not been what we thought they were going to be in the AL Central. The Chicago White Sox, I would not surprise me right now if they win the Central, and I think they do have the offensive staying power to remain one of the top teams in that division.
I mean, the White Sox haven't just been fun, because they very much have been fun. They've been good. And look, the Yankees have lost 6 straight, but we feel like the Yankees are still going to figure things out. The Rays are very comfortably above 500 and now in the top spot in that division. But outside of those teams, the American League has been bad. The American League is largely, more than half of the league is under 500. How?
Yeah.
How did we get here?
Yeah, so I think some of the teams that we thought, well, of course, Houston has been aging for a while, and Yordan Alvarez is still Yordan Alvarez, but there's not a whole lot of offense outside of him. And so it's just like, okay, now they are in a transition period. We thought Seattle was going to be better. Cal Raleigh, that terrible start, and then gets injured, and Julio Rodriguez has not been the superstar that they thought he would be. Seattle had a big winning streak a while ago. Now it's like, where are they going to be? Is that going to be a division that treads around 500, just like the Central as well? So I think it's a couple of these big names that have not turned it on yet. I think it's some teams that are aging out, like the Houston Astros. And I think it's a team, the Detroit Tigers, that was hit by as many injuries as you can have. Skubal out. There's Javi Baez, even though he hasn't been what they hoped he would be, he was out. They've had so many guys up and down with that team. I still think the Detroit Tigers could be a playoff team, but at this point, a month out from the trade deadline, I think they've got to ask some real questions. Scott Harris, the guy running the operation over there in Detroit, has got to be like, okay, we might be good enough to make a run at the end of the year and squeak into the playoffs and be another one of those American League teams that just gets in, but could we get a whole lot from the New York Yankees or some team in the National League for Tarek Skubal? I think the Detroit Tigers are going to be an interesting team to watch in the American League. Not as good as we thought they would be, but hold the cards for a lot of teams to maybe get over the hump and compete in October when the playoffs roll around.
All right, so from bad to good, The Miz has been great. Obviously, he's become a sensation. When you watch him pitch, what stands out the most to you?
I mean, it's just the fact that he can hold that velocity from the beginning of the game and through 5 innings and continue to throw 105 miles an hour and has some secondary stuff that makes life really difficult. It's amazing to watch. And you watch, and we did a segment today with CeCe Sabathia on our podcast about Mason Miller and that curveball and that slider, it's got like a 50% whiff rate on it. And you see what Miz does with his fastball at 105. And you see what guys like Christopher Sanchez do with the changeup that's a put out. I mean, that is almost as hard to hit as those sliders and the fastball. Like, Miz is amazing to watch, and you do realize why in baseball it has trended for the last 10 years where strikeouts are at a higher rate than hits. And so life as a hitter right now in Major League Baseball, good luck, because not only are these pitchers good, but their superpowers are getting better. The spin rates are getting faster. The fastballs are getting faster. If he stays healthy, I mean, he will continue to be one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball. That is just the question with all these pitchers. Can they stay healthy? For the good of the league, I hope he does, because he is so fun to watch.
I mean, you mentioned two of these really fun pitchers to watch right now in the NL, Mason Miller and Jacob Misiorowski. It doesn't end there. Obviously, Paul Skeens, Christopher Sanchez, what he's done for the Phillies. Just philosophical question for you. In today's modern baseball, can a reliever like Mason Miller win a Cy Young?
That's a good question. I think part of it depends on how much he pitches, how many games he pitches in, but the sheer dominance that we have seen by him, there was a number that we had today. I think it was he's thrown 316 sliders this year so far. 25 of them have been put into play, and there have only been 10 hits, and they've all been singles, no extra base hits against that slider. So we have never seen that before. So if you want to look at elite when they are in the game, you don't get much more elite than that. And so it would take a year, I think, like this for Mason Miller, a strikeout rate of over 60% on that slider, to make people say, yeah, he deserves the Cy Young. But if there is a year, if it doesn't happen with Mason Miller and he keeps this up the whole year, it's not going to happen, because this is exactly the kind of story that you would have to write for it to happen. But Christopher Sanchez, Paul Skeens, you know, some guys in the American League, Jacob deGrom, it's like you've got these other names that already have the built-in story and comeback stories with them, and reigning Cy Young. So I don't know if it can happen, but if it doesn't happen and Mason Miller does this for the rest of the year, it will never happen. I think it's safe in saying that.
One thing that did happen last night was a melee. It was absolutely out of control. I know you saw it. Red Sox, Nats. It got heated. What'd you make of it?
I mean, it's one of those things where in baseball over the last, 10 years or so, we've seen some of the rules change where, managers aren't being ejected from games because, you can't argue, you can replay it. It's just like if the umps make a bad call on a ball and strike now, you can replay it. You don't have those arguments anymore. And so you don't like to see things get nasty. You don't like to see things cross the line. You don't like to see things really get personal. But as long as you can kind of keep the emotion into the appropriate slot in baseball, it's like, again, I don't want to see things go across the line. You don't want to see shots be taken. I don't like seeing pitchers plunk guys, especially up around the head area. Like, all that stuff is off limits, and everyone has a different line. You can watch what happened last night and say parts of that are over the line. But for me, baseball's better when you have emotions in the game. Baseball's better when you have a little rivalries. Baseball's better when you have a little hatred for your rivals out there. And so anything that kind of builds that, as long as it doesn't go too far and you're not putting people in harm's way, which is against the pale. But I think as long as you have emotion in the game, there's going to be a place for that. And so for me as a baseball lifer that have been following the sport for 40 some years now, it's like I don't want to lose that part of the game. Keep it clean, keep it appropriate, but you want to show me emotion every once in a while? I like that as well.
There's one guy that is known to have brought emotion to the college game who hasn't necessarily brought that same level of success to the major league level, and that's Tony Vitello with the San Francisco Giants. Now 35-50 on the season. It was an experimental hire. What is your perception of the early Tony Vitello experience so far in San Francisco?
It's tough because I'm not in that clubhouse, and the players who are in that clubhouse have said the right things, that he does have the respect of the players, even though he has never done it at the major league level. He has won a lot at the college level, and a lot of that is relationships and communication, and you're not just talking to the players, you're talking to the players' parents, and so he's dealt with that, and I'm sure he's dealt with that at a very high level. He's been very successful in the college game. I think for the Giants, part of the issue has been in the way it has been communicated. There has not been a whole lot of buy-in from the fan base. There's not been a whole lot of buy-in from the media that has covered the team. And that has made life harder for not only Vitello, but Buster Posey, who's running the whole operation there right now. And so this is all brought on because the team is not achieved what they thought they were going to achieve coming into the year. They've been below expectations so far. Losing makes everything more difficult. But I think part of the problem with them is that, has there been enough humility for Vitello? He came in guns a-blazing, which, hey, he's got a lot of confidence, and that's exactly how he managed when he was in the college game. But when it doesn't go well, when you start losing games, when you start losing the faith of the fan base, I think things can snowball. And I think that's the period that we're at right now with the Giants. And who knows, maybe, this will give them some humility going forward if this whole crew is around next year and they'll learn these lessons from this year. Because I think he is a good baseball mind. I think he can pick it up. And I think, those relationships that he's had, Rafael Devers, that was not great, but they have moved on from that now. I think all this could help and be constructive in the future unless it continues to snowball and it gets so out of hand that you just have to part ways and move on next year.
Yeah, definitely wishing him nothing but the best in San Francisco. Ahmed, I hate that I have to ask you about this as we're in the middle of a really fun baseball season and talking about negotiations isn't fun, but that's where we are right now in Major League Baseball. We're in the thick of the new CBA negotiations. It is clear the owners want a salary cap. The players do not want a salary cap. So when you have two sides that clearly want two very opposite things, how do you see the resolution playing out here?
Yeah, it's tough because baseball is in such a good spot right now. A lot of people have mentioned it, not just me. All the rule changes that have been made the game faster. You go to any ballpark, in which I'm lucky enough to do on some Sundays. It's just like there's a lot of people there. There's a lot of families there. They're having a great time. You're outdoors. It's great weather. Like baseball, the sport is in such a great spot. I hope that the owners and the players, and I know this is probably false hope, but can see the bigger picture here. Because I don't think, and who knows, and you can get philosophical on this stuff, I don't know that the country is in a spot right now to watch millionaires and billionaires fight and really pick a side there and not just want to turn the whole thing off. But I know that's probably not going to be the case. And the players' union on the baseball side has been one of the strongest that we have seen, not only in sports, but in all of America. And so there's a lot of pride in that and a lot of pride in not giving in to what the owners want. And so who knows? Yeah, we're probably in for another fight. We're in for another lockout. Are we going to miss some games next year? I don't know. I think maybe it's trending that way from what we've heard so far from the negotiations. My hope is that they can see the bigger picture and they can see that this could be a lose-lose situation if the public turns off once again. And so, hey, maybe we've got to take a little bit of a loss on our side. And the owners say, I got to take a little bit of a loss on our side because this could get out of control if this goes on and we lose a lot of games next year. Because as you guys know, there are so many entertainment options out there right now. A game of baseball is competing against every piece of video that has ever been made on YouTube and on Netflix and on Peacock and all that. It's a lot of competition out there, and so baseball should not blow it in this negotiation.
It's incredibly well said by you. It's rare that everybody loves everything. It's rare that everybody loves anything. I love this. Star Spangled Sunday. I saw the tweet go out the other day. I freaked for it. This is an amazing idea. Tell everybody what's going on Sunday.
It solves the problem. We're going, where's the game? How can I find the game? It's on Peacock. It is on Peacock. We got 2 games on NBC. Every single game coming up on Sunday, July 5th, Star Spangled Sunday, will be streamed on Peacock. We got Mets and Braves to start the whole thing off on Sunday on NBC as well. We end it. Me and CeCe Sabathia will be doing the pregame show out in California for Padres and Dodgers. Yeah, and so the cool thing is, and what we've tried to do here at NBC with our Sunday leadoff package that we had in 22 and 23, and now we have it once again, and with our Sunday package, you guys know this. We're trying to bring analysts from both sides, home team, away team, bring them together, spark some new conversations during the broadcast. For all 15 games, we're going to try to do that as well. Many of the games on Peacock will have the home play-by-play announcer with the away color analyst, and so they haven't necessarily worked together in the past, and so that'll be a new flavor and a new broadcast. And so just trying to bring in different perspectives, because I think the one thing that we realize is that baseball is really a local sport. And these local broadcasters that you've grown up with in your life, I mean, it was George Kell and Al Kaline for the Detroit Tigers. For me, working out in San Francisco, it was Kruk and Kipe. I mean, those guys are beloved. And so to be able to bring them into these national broadcasts and make it easy for the viewer. On Sunday, turn on Peacock, flip around to some games. You got all of them there. We'll finish it off in LA. And so, yeah, I'm super pumped. And selfishly, I hope this is a template for when Major League Baseball starts thinking of their media rights deals coming up in the future, because I think this is really cool. Put all the games in one spot every once in a while and one-stop shopping, if you will, on Peacock and NBC.
On 4th of July weekend, no less. Like, it's just the perfect opportunity to celebrate America with baseball. I love every ounce of this. It's a great idea by NBC, and I'm glad that you're a part of it. It's incredible. Thanks for your time. Ahmed Fareed, you can check him out on NBC Sports, obviously hanging out on Sunday. It's going to be a blast. Thanks for your great insights, too, my friend. We appreciate you coming on. You got to come back again.
Anytime, guys.
Awesome.
Great
Appreciate you.
stuff. It's going to be. That can't miss. Sunday. It's just turn it on and keep it on all dang day. Coming up next, we'll rank the NBA's best new duos.
So now Felix Harper sends the motion, takes the snap, fakes the pitch, looks over the middle, two receivers in the same spot, and that turns into a huge interception for Jacksonville. Lost opportunity, and what a return, what a pick, and what a change of momentum created by Isaiah Major.
Wow. You talk about bend but don't break.
My biggest concern is, can he be an on-ball playmaker? Yes, we saw it in high school, but we know that there's levels to this. So when you get to Kansas to have 38 turnovers and 38 assists, to me as a one-to-one guy, your sample size isn't good enough. Now, we know his big moments were extremely big. They were extremely loud. My man is an elite-level scorer and will fill it up with the best of them. But I want to see if he can grow into a high-level playmaker.
Well, inside the 25 at the 23, Jerome Johnson's going to fire under pressure. He's got a man, and again, touchdown for the Sugar Skulls. Javion Lofton, his second of the night.
I mean, that is the type of drive that you want. The type of drive, just methodically down the field,
Overcoming all those penalties and
all that. And sure enough, you know, the best way to fix it is let's go score a touchdown.
When I think of Christian Pulisic and what he's going through now with this World Cup, can you talk a little bit about that pressure? And you seem like someone who can push a lot of that off, Christian, as well. But does that seep in a little bit?
You know, the cameras are going to be pointing at your direction. You're going to be one of the ones interviewed the most in post-match. At this point now, it's like Christian is Christian, and like he's going to deliver greatness, and we can't expect that to be every single minute like any other player.
Scotty Barnes and Kawhi Leonard, best duo in the league. Okay, Raptors league, calm it down just a little bit. We're seeing all sorts of new duos come together via trade. We got Giannis and Bam. We got LaMelo and Ant. Now John Dame, and now Kawhi and Scotty. The list goes on and on and on, like a great 80s tag team. These are amazing, but we're going to figure out which would be the best in different ways, all right? So, Caroline, let's start with this one. Which of these duos will be the most exciting to watch next season?
Let me just say, I do love fan accounts like that, because if I say something like, I don't think the Giants are going to be very good this year, then I'll get a tweet that's like, you're stupid. And I'm like, oh, okay, thank you, Giants fan 24/7. Like, thank you for your input on that one. But I do appreciate that from at Raptors lead, because it did kind of get me thinking, could they be one of the best duos in the league? New duos, at least. I will still give it to Giannis and Bam. Just that duo in their pure size, their length, they'll be physically imposing. Like, that is incredibly scary to me, whether you have an 83-point game from Bam or not. I just think the size alone, that's the scariest new duo. But my favorite new duo, like on social media and in press conferences, would be LaMelo and Ant. I mean, they're just a walking soundbite.
I think LaMelo and Ant are going to be the most exciting duo to watch, too, because of the way they play. Look, there's different styles, and styles make fights, right? And I respect everything about the intimidation factor. We'll get to some of that. But when you're just talking about exciting to watch, LaMelo and Ant's going to be exciting to watch. Hell, it's going to be exciting to see LaMelo try and drive to the arena. But once we get into the arena, watching Ant play as explosively as he does, and then watching LaMelo be who LaMelo is on the court, I mean, there is this moment. I realize LaMelo Ball is somebody that's had an up-and-down career, and I realize that there's some questions about his game overall, but we watched the growth in LaMelo over the course of this year, did we not? Now you put him with somebody like Ant, where he doesn't really, in this tag team, LaMelo, he doesn't have to be Batman anymore. No, he is not Batman at all. He's Robin. So let Ant be Ant, and then let Ant be Ant with the joy of having LaMelo next to him. I think excitement, you want to talk about highlights, you want to talk about little snippets, the way we like to watch the NBA in the regular season, where it's like 15 seconds of a game tells you the whole story. The best 15 seconds going to come from that duo over and over and over again, Caroline.
the speed of that duo, the that's what's going to be fun. The personalities between that duo are wildly fun. And look, I think it's important to remember LaMelo's 24 years old. There's probably still a whole lot of growing and maturing that LaMelo was doing in the limelight in the NBA. Now, am I going to say that LaMelo all of a sudden is totally and completely, mature and will, take all of this and really act like the adult in the room? I don't know. Maybe that's just not who LaMelo is. But it is going to be a fun duo to watch. And not just in the personalities, not just in the sound bites, not just in the social media moments, not just for the fact that they're both really young, rising stars in this league, but because it's going to be really exciting and fun and high-flying and high-scoring basketball.
Okay, so then how about this? Which of these duos will have the best win total? So we're talking about the new duos. So at this point, we're looking at Minnesota, we're looking at Toronto, we're looking at Portland, and we're looking at Miami. Best win total.
Ooh, this is tough. Win total, I don't know. Which team would I bet on to go the furthest in the postseason?
Oh, I like that.
Timberwolves. LaMelo and Ant. I would take LaMelo and Ant to go the furthest in the postseason. And maybe that's a cop-out because we've seen the Timberwolves do that, right? They went to back-to-back Western Conference Finals, and they were the Western Conference Semifinals and went to 6 games with the Spurs this past season. And they were able to play Jokic unlike any other team I've been able to see play Jokic. Like, Rudy Gobert has something, has the secret sauce on Jokic that I haven't seen any other defender be able to, limit Jokic the way that he's been able to limit Jokic. So this is total and complete cop-out because I don't know about win total in the regular season, but which team do I feel the most confident in to be able to find themselves in a conference finals? I think it's LaMelo and Ant in Minnesota.
So I like that call a lot because I love Ant, but I don't know. I feel like I'm almost underselling Giannis and Bam in that conversation then, because frankly, the size of Giannis and Bam means something to me. So as you mentioned earlier, just watching the physicality, who's just stepping in front of that? When either of them are like, who's stepping in front of that? Who's trying to stop that over and over and over again? The physicality, the girthiness of those two men is just going to be something to take down. So I think I trust Miami. Well, I mean, there is an element of me where I think I don't want to undersell what I think Ja and Dame can be, but I don't love Portland. I like Miami as a team overall around those two. So even though I'm higher on the Ja Dame tandem than a lot of people are, plenty of people have said that tandem is going to be absolutely washed and doesn't work. I think it does. If you look at contested points for Ja, he's one of the league leaders over the last 3 years of his career. He's going to get a lot in the paint, which is going to free up Dame. Even though he's not a traditional paint player like Giannis, he scores traditionally, according to advanced analytics, a lot like Giannis does. So I actually really like this pairing. I just don't love Portland as a team overall. So when we're talking about win totals, I think I go back to Miami as just, and maybe this is just me defaulting, like Miami's been good, Miami will be good. Maybe I'm giving too much benefit of the doubt, but man, if Giannis can't take over the world with Bam next to him, then why the hell have we been talking about Giannis so much? Yeah, at some point that has to deliver, right? So I think I will go, as I went all around the entire league, I'll go Miami. Now, let me throw this extra wrinkle in here, Caroline. Let me make things even more complicated for you, all right? Because there's one duo that has not yet been formed, okay? Yesterday evening, Wendy had quite a revelation during ESPN's free agency special where he said the Cavs are chasing the duo of LeBron and Jaylen Brown. All right, so LeBron and Jaylen Brown, first and foremost, eclipses all of these duo conversations, right? Like Jaylen and LeBron, we could just admit, will be better than all of the rest of these duos.
Yes. Because I think all the rest of these duos have fair question marks. Like, the thing with Ja and Dame is, I think they could have a high ceiling together. You have two high volume scoring point guards that would be fun to watch. But you also have 35-year-old Damian Lillard coming off of an Achilles tear and John Morant, who's been consistently injured and hasn't been on the court. So if they're both available and playing at a high level, fun. But I also think the floor is pretty low. Fair question marks and to be, picked and prodded apart with any of these duos. Jaylen Brown and LeBron James, like, that's a championship contending duo, on top of the fact that you're going to pair them with Donovan Mitchell. The Cavs, this does feel like a really fun kind of fantasy land fairy tale. someone's going to have to take a big time haircut. Like LeBron is going to have to be okay making $15 million to go back to Cleveland. Like, I don't know what the Cleveland would have to give up to get Jaylen Brown, but you're going to have to give up something to get something as great as Jaylen Brown. But if Cleveland's able to make it work in a trade, and if Cleveland is able to make it work financially, that's absolutely a championship contending team. So yeah, that's the best duo. That would be such an interesting duo. It would be a fun duo. It would be a team that is dripping in storylines. If Cleveland is able to make it work, I will buy in that Cleveland can win the East, hands down.
I think at some point it would be irresponsible for Cleveland not to chase this duo. It's irresponsible for Cleveland to not at least try and make this happen.
But
that doesn't mean it's going to happen. I mean, again, look at we would live and work in a sports media landscape, right? If Stephen A. Smith became a free agent tomorrow, it would be irresponsible for Yahoo to not at least call Stephen A. and say, "Hey, man, what do you think?" Especially if Stephen A.'s agent's out here saying, "Well, we don't really care about money. We just care about being happy." I would fully expect Ryan Spoon, our big boss, to call up and be like, "Hey, Stephen A., we can make you very happy over here." Like, it'd be irresponsible not to try if you're Cleveland. If you are a Cavs fan, if you are the Cavs organization, to not try and acquire LeBron and then put the best of the best with him in every possible way would be irresponsible. Now, is it going to happen? I don't know. And this comes back to the conversation we've had about happiness so much with LeBron. Like, does he want to play with Jaylen Brown? Is there, as has been mentioned before, Jaylen Brown was pretty loud about Bronny. So is there water under the bridge? Are they good? Are they friends? I don't know. Are they such good friends that he wants to go back and play for Cleveland? Does he want to go back and play for Cleveland for $15 million when he might be able to make $15 million or more to play somewhere else? These are all questions I don't know. I know this. I know for $15 million, I go do whatever they want me to do in Cleveland. But for the exact same money I make today, I wouldn't want to live in Cleveland. So, again, we just don't know where LeBron is on this, Caroline. So I think the report that they're chasing Jaylen Brown and LeBron together makes sense because it's the responsible thing to do. You have to at least make those phone calls. You have to aggressively put together a plan so you can look yourself in the mirror, you can look your fans, and you can look at every single player in the NBA and say, hell yeah, we tried to bring LeBron back for one more run at a chip. Like, of course. I don't know that means just because they're chasing LeBron doesn't mean that he's willing to be caught by Cleveland.
I think that's an important thing to keep in mind in NBA free agency, because I feel like every time I open my phone, Jaylen Brown's going to a different team. These teams are, you're going to see these reports from Shams, from whoever, from our very own KOC. This team is calling about, this team is inquiring about, this player would this player would that. A lot of this is these general managers doing their due diligence. If you don't call about LeBron James, you're not doing your job. You can offer LeBron what you want to offer him, and LeBron has every single right to say thanks, but no thanks. But if you are Miami, if you are Cleveland, if you are any of these teams that feel like they are within swinging distance of contending, you have to call about LeBron James. You have to do the due diligence for your fan base, the due diligence for your team. You have to just see what's possible. So a lot of these reports might just be, hey, we're going to call and see what it takes. Oh, it's going to be $45 million to get LeBron to come to Milwaukee? Yeah, thanks, but no thanks. Just throwing out random numbers and random teams here. But a lot of these GMs just have to do their due diligence. That's their jobs. Take a lot of these reports in NBA free agency, silly season, with a grain of salt.
Yeah, as one incredible NFL reporter told me a while back, anytime you see reports, calls are being made about, just laugh it off, because every team makes calls about every player every single year. There are NFL teams that call the Chiefs every year just to ask about Mahomes, just because they know they'll be hung up on, but you never know. So, the fact that they're trying, I get it. You're hunting big game. Doesn't mean that you're actually going to catch it. We got plenty more to come on NBA free agency. It's going to be a wild week, but coming up, America at its finest, previewing tonight's U.S. MNT Showdown next.
I mean, yeah, everyone loves to bring up all the pressure and tell me about the pressure. And I'm used to it. I've lived like this for quite some time now. For me, I just try to do my best to live in the moment. I wouldn't trade what I do for the world. So this is exactly where I want to be. And I just try to take it head on and enjoy every experience. I got a wonderful team and family behind me, and that's all that really matters.
The crowd understanding that Jacksonville needs a jolt of energy. It is tough to run inside the 5-yard line because the line of scrimmage is so tight in this game. You see the linebackers sneaking right up there, ready to make an impact. And then we see, bam, in the backfield, C.J. Wyndham taken down for a big loss, and now the pressure's on for a third down.
Clay Fields, one of the physical imposers on this defense, does a great job of getting rid of that wide receiver.
I think this is the steal of the draft. Obviously, I was big on him going at number 1 potentially. But when you look at historically, when we look at the draft, the guys who are the best are the ones that outperform. It's the sons of NBA players. Look at this list here. Kobe Bryant, Steph Curry, Al Horford. These are all all-stars. And I think Carlos Boozer, being the father of Cam, in a weird way, it makes me like Cam Boozer's prospect even more than what he did at Duke, which was outstanding.
From midfield. 3rd and 5. Delora to throw. Delora all day. Delora shuffles left. Delora launches. Corner end zone. Caught.
Just stay home.
Touchdown. Seneca McKee. Corner of the end zone. And Delora finds him for the touchdown, and now a chance to tie it.
1, 2, 3, 4 guys back there. How are you not fanned out across that area?
The path to the final. I love these projected opponents like this matters. We've seen so many upsets already. My God, what we know is USMNT tonight in action against Bosnia. Like, I'm done. I'm done, Caroline. This is Taylor Twellman was the one that said, not so fast, my friend. And he was right when we were talking about all this projection. If there's anything we've learned in the last 3 days of knockout round is that absolutely nothing can be projected. But here's the question. How far does this team need to go? What round would they need to get to end up in the Mount Rushmore of most patriotic moments in U.S. sports history?
Ooh, it's a great question, Fitzy. But what I know about myself is I'm not a numbers girly. I'm not as much quantitative as I am qualitative. It's great if you blow an opponent out, but how does it look? How does it feel? What's the vibe while you're doing it? It's great if the USMNT can get to the round of 16, but if you lose to, Butt Crack State University in the round of 16, well, then getting to the round of 16 doesn't really mean as much to me. If you get to the round of 16 and lose in penalty kicks to Kylian Mbappe and France, then okay, then that feels a little bit different. If you get to the round of 16 and slay an absolute, global dragon in pursuit of getting to the round of 16, okay, well then it's a different story. So I think for me, it's if you can get to the round of 16 and you just run into Lamine Yamal in Spain, you run into Kylian Mbappe in France, you run into Lionel Messi in Argentina, and I don't have the bracket up in front of me, so I don't even know if any of those things are possible. But if you lose to one of those teams and to one of those global superpowers in whatever round that it might be, but it feels like the USMNT is just in a different stratosphere, it just feels like it's different, well, then that is what matters more to me than a specific round. Like, they have to get to the semifinals in order for it to be a success. I don't necessarily buy into that. It's more qualitative, in my opinion.
I struggle because what you said is what it should be. And already this is one of the most patriotic moments I can remember in my lifetime for a national team. I will say this, though. We are so obsessed. I mean, obsessed with everything championship related all across the board. I just wonder if anything short of a title, which I know sounds absurd, soccer fans, please don't at me. I just don't know that we'll remember it the same way. Even the Miracle on Ice. Do you believe in miracles? That was not the gold medal game. If the team had not won the gold medal, would we still remember it the same way? I don't know. We are so championship or bust obsessed to a fault, something I hate about media coverage and the way that we handle athletes. Look at the conversation we have about LeBron. It's not how many championships he's gone to. Every time somebody wants to talk about LeBron, it's the championships he's lost, and that must mean he is less than for some reason. Like, we are that championship or bust in team sport mentality that I'll never understand. So in order to be on the Mount Rushmore, not only do you have to accomplish something so stinking incredible, it has to end with some sort of award more often than not. Hell, it wasn't that long ago that we were sitting here with great Olympians in the Winter Olympics asking if it was a fail because they won silver medals. I was sitting on this very show saying I refuse to make a silver medal a fail. And that was a real conversation we were having because of the expectations. What's happening here is that USMNT is exceeding the expectations most of us have, right? But man, if I'm a player for the women's soccer team, I'm pretty frustrated that you're going to tell me that one run of the World Cup makes it to the Mount Rushmore when they've consistently been one of the world's greats. And we're always like, yeah, no, that's what we do. I realize that this is an upset. I realize it could be an upset. I realize this is unprecedented. I realize it's infectious. But I don't know. A loss in the round of 16, I would ask anybody, who lost the Super Bowl 4 years ago off the top of your head? Who lost the men's NCAA tournament 3 years ago off the top of your head? We rarely remember the losers even when their seasons were epic and incredible. We only remember the losers when we can quantify it for the upset it was, 28-3. That's when we remember something. When it's an ultimate choke job, we remember it. But just losing in a championship, more often than not, we as an American society, we forget teams that were great that don't win championships.
And that's a very, very fair point by you. Because when the U.S. women's national team loses in the World Cup final, it's an epic disappointment. It's like that hangs over their head for the next 4 years because losing in a final, not winning a championship is unacceptable. Because that's the standard that the U.S. women's national team has set. That's the standard, I think, in the United States. When Alabama doesn't win a championship, disappointment. When Ohio State doesn't win a championship, disappointment. Every single year, the Yankees get so close to winning a World Series, but don't. It's a disappointment because that's just the stratosphere that those teams live in. That's the standard that they've set. Now, I will ask you, Fitzy, if the Raiders win a playoff game, not a Super Bowl, but a playoff game, you'll be taking your top off in the streets. They're going to have to grease the poles in Connecticut because Fitzy's going to climb up them. Because that's the standard. And that's the expectation right now for the Raiders. The U.S. men's national team is much more the Raiders than they are the Chiefs. Okay. So just getting there, being part of the conversation, I think is really fun and really exciting because that's not the expectation for the men's national team. The women's national team, you better win now. You better win. You're Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. You have to win every single year. The men's team just isn't there yet. So I think the expectation and the standard is different.
You are 1,000% correct that the expectation of the standard is different. Will we sit back and remember this run in 30 years if it just ends in a round of 32 elimination or a round of 16 elimination? Because when you think of the greatest patriotic moments in U.S. sports history, you think of the Miracle on Ice, right? W's first pitch after 9/11. You think about Jesse Owens in the Olympics, right? Like these are all, oh my God, moments that are attached to something, right? Like you think about those. You think about Piazza's home run at 9/11. Like these are all just huge, iconic moments because of either what it meant for the world or what it meant for this country, what we were going through at the time, or the unprecedented Kerry Strug, Mary Lou Retton flying through and getting the perfect score in the 1984, I believe it was, Olympics. So you think about these great American moments. This is a moment that has captivated America. But to become a truly great American moment, it either has to stand out or it has to pull us through something. And I'm not sure it can do that if it's short.
I think it depends, too. 30 years from now, where is the U.S. men's national team? If the U.S. men's national team continues to not even be able to make it out of the group stage, but this year they're able to make it to the round of 16, I think we'll look back on it and be excited about it. If the U.S. men's national team has 2 World Cup championships in 30 years, we'll forget all about it.
We will be here tomorrow at 9 a.m. to cover all of the results. Enjoy the party safely tonight.